March 15th, 2013. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 15 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. It is You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall, and I'm here with everybody's favorite gambler, Dr. Mike.
Hello.
So, Mike and I have been in a poker home game it's been a little over 20 years.
Yeah.
It kind of informally started in like the late 80s.
Yeah, we didn't meet quite as regularly, I think.
Yeah, it was more just kind of spontaneous then. And then by like the early 90s, we started playing real regular every week.
Right. Oh, it became a ritual.
Yeah. We'd play on Monday nights originally, right? And so during football season, we'd have the
Monday Night Football
on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we've switched it around a few times. It's been on Tuesdays.
Yeah, but people's schedules have changed.
Yeah. And I think we had Thursdays for a while, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, we've been in this game, like I said, for a little over 20 years, and it's a pretty solid poker home game. In fact, we've got poker chips with faces of all our regular players on them.
Yeah.
How many home games do you think you play in where the poker chips
There is one in the United States.
Have pictures of the regular players on every single poker chip that we play with?
Yeah, there's probably only one in this whole country. I don't know if anyone else takes it all that serious, but we do.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we also have is we've got a jackpot. We've got a home game with a jackpot. We take 25 cents out of every pot, which is not much. But boy, when we first started this, it was a nickel?
Yeah, we started off with a nickel, I think, years ago.
But now we take 25 cents out of every pot. And then if a player ends up with a natural four of a kind or better, and by natural I mean no wild cards, but a natural four of a kind or better, they win the jackpot. And over the years, the jackpot, what is it? It pays off maybe once every couple weeks. It's fairly common.
Yeah. I mean,
and so jackpots are generally, $20, $15. Sometimes it can be as low as like $1.
Yeah, don't I hold the record for the lowest at like a dollar?
It's $1.50 or something. Yeah, it was like the jackpot was one, and then like two hands later,
I won it.
Again.
Right.
What we do is we pay 50% of the jackpot if you get four of a kind, 75% of the jackpot if you get a straight flush, and all of the jackpot if you get a royal flush.
And what we've never had happen is somebody win with a royal flush, and the very next hand somebody get jackpot.
What are you saying?
So there'd be nothing in there.
Oh,
right?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, that's never happened.
Well, but it would never happen that way anyway.
Well, you get a quarter.
You get a quarter,
right? But I mean, we've never had.
That's
the
true.
lowest has been like $1.50. I think I own the dubious record.
Yeah, that's right. I got you. Yeah. Well, so this last card night in our poker game, the jackpot had gotten up to $148, which is pretty high. I think once it got over $200.
Yeah, we did have a 200.
Which is pretty amazing when you think about it. A quarter at a time, and it's building up like that. Well, anyway, this last game, it was up to $148. And Bill, one of our regular players, he went runner in Omaha 8 to make a royal flush.
No.
So he won the whole jackpot. It's the biggest jackpot payout that we've ever had.
And that runner too.
Oh, I know. It was like ace of clubs on the flop. And then like the turn was like the king of clubs and then jack of clubs on the river, and it filled in his full, or his
he hit it
straight
inside
flush,
too.
His royal flush. Yeah. And he could have easily folded on that flop, right? You could think, what are the chances of going runner? But actually the jackpot was so big. We all play a little bit differently when the jackpot gets big. It's like, well, I got to stay in case it hits.
It's like the lottery, right? People buy lottery tickets, usually on a certain schedule. When it gets big, everyone buys one. People who never buy one, buy one.
Right.
We do the same thing at card night.
Yeah.
The jackpot gets big. All of a sudden, you're in every hand. You're playing every hand.
And the pots are bigger.
And consequently, the jackpot grows bigger and bigger.
Yeah. But anyway, that was a big one. And then and he got all of it, of course, because of the royal flush. So our jackpot went down to zero briefly, and we're building it back up.
It builds up kind of quick because we play our home card game kind of like we gamble in the casinos. I mean, it's all cards.
It's fast. Yeah, we play fast. We don't.
Yeah, there's not a lot of goofing around.
No.
I mean, we're never waiting for it. We get the refrigerator is approximately I'd say about 3 feet from the card table, so that if you need a beer, the guy sitting closest to that can reach over and grab one.
Yep, exactly.
So there's no wasted time.
No wasted time at all. And we've got two decks. Some people don't like having 2 decks in a home game. We've got 2 decks going, so when you're playing one game, the other one's being shuffled. And we deal fast. And we've been playing with each other for so many years, too, that, there's not a lot of...
Yeah, it goes so fast that when somebody does lag or somebody has to go to the bathroom, they take a lot of grief for that.
That's right. Or we just fold them now.
Yeah, right. Usually we fold them out.
He's been gone for, 20 seconds, right?
He's in the bathroom.
We folded you. You're the big blind, and there's a raise. We folded you. So recently, the Borgata in Atlantic City started offering hotel guests the opportunity to gamble in their room, on the television in their room. And right now, they're just offering slots and video poker. But what you do is you use your player's card, and you have to you have to put money on your player's card. You have to down at the casino, go to a window and actually give them money to put on your card. And then you go up to your room and you use the number on your card and another password, and you can play these games.
So do they plan to have other things besides slots and video poker?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Yeah, I don't know. But right now it's just slots and video poker. And I don't even know if the video poker is all that good. And, the slots are, I don't think the slots are like typical slot games you'd find on the casino floor. I think they're designed specifically for this in-room, gambling. And you can, I think there's a default limit of $2,500 loss. That's the limit. So you can't lose more than $2,500 in a day.
In your room.
In your room. Right, room. Exactly. But you can go down there and have them raise that limit if you want.
Oh, great.
Right?
So they're willing to let you gamble away all your money in your room if you want?
If you go down, you ask for a higher...
so let me get this straight. I can sit in my underwear on the bed.
Yeah.
Play slots.
Yeah.
And lose all the money I want.
Right.
And then just pack up and leave?
Yeah. You don't even need to go to the casino.
Yeah, I don't even actually. Pretty soon it'd just be at my house.
Now, see, that's the thing, right? It's kind of like internet gambling.
Right.
Except you can't really gamble on the internet in America right now. You
well, I'm kind of surprised that the Gaming Commission actually lets them do that in the room. Just because, the slot machines are regulated. They have certain rules they have to follow, and they're checked periodically. Well, on this, how does the Gaming Commission regulate that? How do they?
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
How do they know that's all on the up and up?
It's Atlantic City, so you'd think that they have some kind of.
Yeah, they're stricter than Vegas.
Oh yeah, so you'd think so. That's a good question, though. I don't know.
Yeah, there must be some way they monitor it.
Is this something that you would do if it were offered, like in Vegas? And you go up to the room. You think it's something you'd do?
You know what? To be honest with you, it's something I'd get bored at. I would do it.
Yeah.
I would do it for probably a few minutes, and then I'd be so bored with it.
Yeah.
Because, look, we go to Vegas. We mostly gamble.
And table games.
Yeah, and table games. But, we take a little bit of time to eat, a little bit of time to sleep. We usually stop at the Keno Lounge on the way up to the room when we're going to bed and buy an overnight Keno card.
That's what we do. That's how we play in the room.
That's how we play in the room.
That's right. We go to the Keno Lounge and we buy like 20 or 40 games in a row.
Right.
Right? And then we wake up the next morning and go back and see if we won.
Yeah, so while you're sleeping, you're still gambling. It's not wasted time.
That's right.
That's the way you can justify actually sleeping.
I see what you mean. So if you were like playing video poker or slots on the TV, you'd probably be thinking, why am I not down in the casino actually gambling?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. You assign points like the other type of pool where, it's you get weighted points again based on seeds and advancement right. Because, if a 16 team wins and then suddenly they need to be paid more money than you anticipate. So if you're going to pay for wins, you don't
just do it by round.
You just weight it by round. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's kind of a nice way to do it. And then, every time your team wins, and you would own more than one team. Right.
The way we do it is everybody there's 8 people. We do 8 people in our pool. Everyone gets a number 1 seed. So you have 8
a 1 or a 2.
Oh, a 1 or a 2. I'm sorry. Yeah, 1 or a 2. So you have all the 1s and the 2s lined up, upside down, let's say, randomly on a
just pick them
table.
out of a hat, basically, is what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
And somebody just picks it, and then that's their one, and another person picks it, and he's got a 2 seed. So everyone gets a 1 or a 2, and then everyone gets a 3 or a 4, a 5 or a 6. You might pick a 1 seed and a 16 seed that play each other.
Yeah.
And then every time you win a game, you get a certain amount of money back.
Yeah, the way that we do it is we have 8 players. We have a $30 entry fee, and we pay back $2 times the round number back for every win that you get. And I want to make it clear, too, I should have mentioned this before. We talk about round 1. Again, that's the round of 64. I think now they call these play-in games round 1.
Right.
And no. The first round is the round of 64.
Yeah, the one that starts on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, everybody gets $2 back, $2 times the round number back for a win. And it works out perfectly where, $30 entry fee from 8 players, and everybody, gets the money's perfectly paid out that way. That's worked for us pretty well. It's random. I mean, there's no thought involved in the way that we play because it's kind of random, but it's still fun.
It's still fun. I'll tell you, I'm a basketball fan. I'm a sports fan. And I would watch the games whether I was in a pool or not. But when you're in a pool, it is a lot more exciting.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got some team, let's say that's, your 14 seed and they're on the verge of upsetting a team. It really does make it pretty exciting.
It is exciting.
And that's unusual for me to say that because I've said this to you many times. I don't bet on sports a lot because, I tend to bet with my heart and, it's not a good way. You have to be real analytical when you're doing sports betting. And I just don't like the work involved in it. But here in this tournament, in the way we do it, there's no work, and I just have fun rooting for my team.
Well, yeah, it's random. I think another reason you like this is because it's not just one game that you're betting on.
Right.
That first day, there's 16 games going on, right? So, you might, I was upset here, but I've got another game going on here, right? So,
right. I like that. And I also like to see my good friends lose their games.
Yeah, it's very fun.
It's very fun to call one of your buddies up and say, oh, yeah.
Dollars to win $8.25. Well, because it's a good bet.
Yeah, right. Well,
it might not be a fun bet, but it's a good bet. Because most people